Hello everyone, my name is Albert. I'm going to walk you through how to export from DealerClick to QuickBooks. A quick overview about the QuickBooks Export module. The QuickBooks Export module is a plugin component for DealerClick. What it does is it takes the information about the inventory, reconditioning, and the sold deals, and it puts them into QuickBooks in the form of payables and receivables. The first thing that you want to check on before you export is your data entry. Unfortunately, this is the most common area where errors can occur. See, the logic is that the information that you enter into DealerClick goes into QuickBooks. So if you enter incorrect or incomplete information inside of DealerClick, you're going to end up with the same thing on the QuickBooks side, which is a lot more difficult to correct than it is on DealerClick. The first area you want to check is on your inventory screen. I'm going to open up a vehicle. Let's look at the sold one. See, I've entered my vendor neatly over here, Mannheim Auction, and I have the cost. What is happening is we'll have a vendor created on the QuickBooks side, and we'll create a bill for that amount, for the amount of the cost, towards that vendor. So what we want to make sure is that you have the vendor name and you have the cost. If you don't have a vendor name, it'll end up under a vendor named unknown. If it doesn't have a cost, it'll not create a bill. Why? Because QuickBooks will automatically delete that cost if it's a zero. You don't have a bill for $0, so why would it have one? Same thing goes for the repairs. You put in the description of the work, then you put in the reconditioning supplier. Keep in mind the reconditioning supplier is the same thing as the vendor of the repair. On the deal side, you have vendors if you sell insurance, service contract, credit insurance, or aftermarket items. The company that is providing you with the insurance, or really your vendor for the insurance, is the vendor. You have to make sure you have the vendor name entered, which you can always enter from setup, list, and you'll see places where you can put in the lenders, service contract companies, shipping companies, insurance companies, and vehicle sources. So that's where you put in the vendor, but what about the cost? On the recap sheet, you'll find two columns for front and back cost. You want to make sure that you fill out any number where it applies. So for example, if I have a service contract, I want to make sure that I have the cost in there as well. And you can enter that right here on the recap. Let me open a deal that I've previously exported. Here's one. So I have the amount for the service contract, and when I click on recap, I've entered the cost in the back-end cost. The service contract and gap and other insurance types all fall into that same category. They're all back-end costs, basically. Same thing for the lender fees. So after you recap this deal and you transfer it to sold from here, be sure to put in your salesperson and the commission that applies to them. It'll create a bill for that one as well. And that's all there is to the data entry part of it. Now, to export this information into QuickBooks, what you will do is you go up to Accounting, Export to QuickBooks. It'll ask you to exit from DealerClick. The reason it does that is because, like I said, you want to make sure that the information that you have on DealerClick is complete and accurate. If you're still entering information into DealerClick, chances are you're still making modifications to those records. So please ensure that everybody's logged off from DealerClick, as well as yourself, and click Yes. It'll exit the software and it will open up the export module. At that point, you only have to click on Connect, assuming you already have your company file selected. Here I have a company file that contains our chart of accounts. Now remember, before you export, you have to have this chart of accounts in there. If you have your own chart of accounts and you want us to conform the software to that chart of accounts, give us a call and we'll map the accounts together. However, if you're starting from scratch, which I recommend you do, we can provide you with the chart of accounts that is plug and play with our export module. Basically, the simple explanation for that is you have data on DealerClick side and you have data on QuickBooks side. Each piece of data needs to go to the right destination. If you don't have the accounts in there, it doesn't know where to go. So you have to have a chart of accounts either in there, or you have to custom map the QuickBooks Export module to your chart of accounts. And as I said, we'll provide this chart of accounts to you. So I already exported that deal, so we have it under customers. I have two deals exported here. What it does is it'll take the last name of the customer and the stock number of the vehicle and create a customer job out of it. So here I have this customer job, Smith 1, as well as Smith 987. And as you can see, it'll put in any records that are relevant to it within that customer job. So for example, on this one, I had an invoice within which I will have a full itemization of every piece of service or fee that I included in there, including my taxes. And by the way, you do not have to calculate taxes on the QuickBooks side because we already do that for you. And also a payment. This is my cash down. This is the amount that the software knows for a fact that I have already received. It goes into undeposited funds by default, but it's really a payment and it's reducing the total balance. On this one, I have more entries. Why? Because I had a pack on the car and I had a finance charges profit. This really appears only and only if you're doing marking up on the APR. So for example, if they got approved for a 9, you're selling it at a 10% APR, then you have a small finance charge profit there, which it creates a journal entry out of. Not a very common thing to do, but it's there in case you're doing that. Now the vendors, this is the part where the payables are. The vendor for the car will get created automatically. That's Mannheim for one of the cars I have. That's Mannheim auction for another car I have. Now this brings up another point. A lot of times I see people putting in multiple entries for the same company. You don't have to do that. You can actually select the name of the company from the drop-down menu. Every single place where you can enter a vendor, you can also pick the previously entered vendors using the drop-down menu. So an easy way of doing that is if you can type it in, type in MA and then hit down, and it will give you the first vendor that starts with the letters MA. Just a neat little trick. Same thing happens with the service contract companies, any detail shop or any other vendor that's providing you with services or vehicles or repairs. And also you have your salesperson. So Rob Jackson, not to be confused with Ron Jackson, just demo information, has a bill for this amount. This was an $80,000 car he sold, and he got paid 15% on top of that. And that's a bill. You can create a check out of this and pay your salesperson. As you notice, there is the customer job attached to these bills. So when you have service contract company bills, you have bills for your salespeople, you have bills for the car itself. All those things get attached to the customer job. So you can keep track of it easier. And also, you have the number, which is, in majority of the places, the stock number of the vehicle. So that 1 is actually the stock number of my car. In this case, this was the 987. On this one, it was the 1. Let's see if I have another one here that I can show you. This one was also a stock number 1. So that's basically all you're doing. You're paying the bills, If you're downloading your bank statements, what I recommend you do is, first of all, find out which transactions you paid in one transaction with your bank, and combine those transactions into a bill payment on the QuickBooks side. So the way you do that is by going to Pay Bills, you select the bills that you want to pay in one transaction, and you pay selected bills. In this case, I just have one for this vendor here. Yes, and filter by, I can do all vendors. So something like this. If I paid for the detail shop and the warranty, that's normally happening when you have the same vendor. So we can pay the selected bills and we create one bill payment out of it. And this would reconcile with your bank, assuming that the total amount here is the same thing. Same thing goes for the deposits that are coming in on the customer section. If you've made the deposits inside of your bank account and you're downloading your statement, this payment here would match up with your bank, assuming you have the same date and the same amount. So really what we do is we create the bills for you to pay and reconcile with your bank, and we create the payments and invoices for the deals that you've made. The rest of it you can get into if you want to, if you're if you want to do something more advanced, but really you don't have to fiddle with any of this stuff over here. This is just a chart of accounts that's charged with the responsibility of holding the information. There's no other reason for modifying it. I mean, if you want to, you can definitely do that, but it'll add into the configuration that we have to make for you, which we will do happily. Just give us a call and we'll do that for you. But in case you're wondering, the way that happens is we go into the setup and map each of these fields to the account where you want to send it to. So in this case, holdback is mapped to holdback asset, which is an other asset account. We have to go through each and every one of these and make sure they're all mapped correctly. It takes maybe an hour or so, but after that you will have your own chart of accounts and DealerClick will be completely conformed to it, which is unlike majority of the export software out there, which force you to use their chart of accounts and you don't have an option on that one. We recommend you use our chart of accounts. However, if you have your own, we can definitely conform it, and that's not a problem at all. The actual exporting happens on this screen over here. When you connect, you wait for QuickBooks to launch, you click OK, then you click on Export Inventory, which will export any available inventory that you have. You click on Export Reconditioning, which will export any cost that you entered into your repair section for the car. Then you export the deals, which is the part where the vendors for any kind of services that are applied to the deal itself get created. The customer is created, the invoice, the payment, the journal entries for that customer and deal. And also the car itself goes into cost of goods sold. If you want to run reports, like I said, everything is attached to each other. You can run a profit and loss just fine. It keeps track of your inventory within an account called inventory. Let me show that to you. Inventory, which is the other current asset. We do not use the itemization feature on QuickBooks because it's simply not designed for a car dealership. We just give you your inventory right here, which I've taken more out of than I've put in, and the recon adjustment. So these have gone into cost of goods sold now because these services have been sold. You can see how they're connected there. And if you want to run a report of what you own, what's the total assets of your company, we send over the information for the inventory, and we maintain this inventory account based on all the information that you have within DealerClick. So every time you export, it'll update it to match up with what you have on DealerClick. And that's basically it. And if you have any other questions, you can give us a call at 714-361-6000. My name is Albert. You can ask for me by name, or you can dial 207 if you get to the dial extension. Thank you and have a great day.